Good evening, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Cover One Film Room, the very first technically regular season episode of the Cover One Film Room. I am one of your two hosts tonight, Anthony Prohaska, joined by Mr. Eric Turner. I know we promote some different things for this episode. For those of you waiting, Jordan Phillips is unfortunately unable to join us tonight. Sometimes it does suck, but sometimes life just gets in the way, and he chose his child over us and had to go do daddy duty.
It happens more times than not for parents.
Happens all the time, unfortunately, but he vowed to come back, similar to what happened when we did that film room episode with Isaiah McKenzie. Sometimes life got in the way. We circled back and put one together.
So he's taking care of Kendall. That's the promo. All right. He had to postpone to take care of Kendall, who obviously was past his bedtime. So that's who That's why Jordan wasn't able to make it.
Kendall's having some trouble sleeping through the night, as you do in your terrible twos. And so Jordan Phillips is just rocking him to sleep like Feliciano with Cole Beasley. But no, cheers to him for staying in touch with us and letting us know. And, we get it. Like, family comes first. It's completely understandable. And hopefully we'll be able to circle back and get him on the show, much like we did Isaiah McKenzie. So, go do your thing, Jordan.
They get in the film room eventually.
Yeah, we get them one way or the other. We get them, much like the Bills' defensive line in their approach versus Matthew Stafford, the Bills' offense approach when it came to points against the Rams' defense. Eric, as we mentioned, or as I mentioned in the intro here, this is technically our first regular season film room episode. Week 1 is in the books. We're going to dive into the defensive and offensive sides of the ball. And man, do we have genuinely like a lot of great stuff too.
A lot of film.
Like this was one of those weeks where like narrowing things down was like hard. Even when I was like clipping stuff and watching the game tape Friday and into the weekend, I felt like I was just like, well, I could clip this and clip this. I was like, I could just clip the whole thing. Like, it's just all worthy, both sides of the ball. Cause there's some intricacy that not only was successful, but also speaks to what this team could be and their sustainability going forward. That's awesome from Craig. Jordan Phillips rocking Kendall in a chair is something we all need to see. Someone has video or photo editing skills. Put that together. But yeah, Eric, what a performance from the Buffalo Bills coming out. Honestly, it could have been an even bigger victory if they didn't turn the ball over 4 times, but all things considered, a very good opening week statement and a lot of positives to draw from for this team and for us when we went back and dove into the film.
Yeah, and the film's going to be some really good film on both sides of the ball. I mean, I think both coordinators were overall quite happy with the game plan and the execution. A couple of those turnovers can be obviously, restrained and limited in the future. But I'd say overall, when you talk about, game planning versus a very good team and then executing on the field on the big stage, both coordinators are very happy.
Yeah, there were so many things to draw from in this game. I like you mentioned, from the game plan specific aspect, whether it was formational alignments defensively, whether it was play concepts and designs offensively. We talked about how wonky, week 1 can be last week in the film room, but that Bills week 1 seemed, both offensively and defensively, the game plan on both sides seemed very tailored to their opponent to pinpoint weaknesses and attack. And it obviously worked out given the result of this game.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the stats here, courtesy of PFF. 50 dropbacks for Matthew Stafford. He had 41 attempts, 29 completions. So he completed a decent clip at 70.7%. But if you look at how it's broken down when blitzed, there's a big goose egg. And when you can get to the quarterback without blitzing, and you can have the turnovers, the interceptions, and 7 sacks, I mean, that's a defensive coordinator's dream.
Yeah, we've talked about it on this show, and it's, I know I've talked about it in Disguise coverage as well. In an ideal world, not just for the Bills, but if you can get pressure with 4 and drop 7 into coverage, that's so beautiful, especially in today's day and age, given what offenses want to do, attacking you through the air with the pass, but then especially even more so when it comes to Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier. Sean McDermott wants that Carolina Panthers defense that went to the Super Bowl with K'Wan Short and Charles Johnson, and they're rushing 4 and dropping 7. It just gives you the coverage. It changes the math in the coverage aspect and allows you to have the numbers advantage and the route distribution versus the offense. It's such an advantageous thing for a defense. And whether it was Von Miller, whether it was Jordan Phillips, Gregory Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, the Bills front four and that rotation were just coming snap after snap. And again, in the pass, but also in the run, just a really stout performance from that front four in a variety of ways.
Yeah, and you can see as far as rushing the passer goes, 27 total pressures, 10 sacks. Now it says 10 sacks because they don't believe in half sacks. So if a guy got half a sack, they're going to give him the entire
that
QB
always
sack
throws me off on PFF.
Yeah,
it always is so misleading.
But you can see the other thing. So if you take the 7 specific sacks and then 7 or 6 QB hits, like that's a lot of hits on the quarterback. And we're going to see a bunch of these clips where maybe the ball was out, but Jordan Phillips or DaQuan Jones or Epinesa or any of these rushers are still getting a lick on I always want to say Sam Bradford, Matthew Stafford. So that is going to affect a quarterback, especially a quarterback that is more of a drop back type passer. The Bills were incredibly disciplined in coverage, but they are also very disciplined. I know the defensive coordinator, Leslie Frazier, talked about it in tackling. And that was a big key to this game. Of course,
we talked about it last week.
Yeah, they always want to minimize those explosive plays. That was the number one key to this game. But the next key behind that was tackling and keeping everything in front of them. And the Bills, according to PFF, only missed a few tackles, 6 on the day. That's a really good day by the defense.
For sure. One quick note on the pressure piece, the page before when you were showing Stafford's numbers, was 36.9 in terms of pressures converted to sacks from a percentage standpoint. That is extremely high and fantastic for this Bills defense that last year, couldn't really get home at times. And then, you talk about what honestly we talked about last week, one of our keys, like the Rams are an explosive offense. We know how the Bills want to play. They want to keep the roof on the defense and play top down and keep everything in front of them. And when you do that, you're going to have plays that develop in front of you. You have to come up and make tackles. And whether it was first down, second down, or especially third downs, the Bills were a pretty sound tackling team. Christian Benford had a couple really solid sticks. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer as normal. Mr. Polarizing linebacker himself, Tremaine Edmonds, had a couple nice tackles, and I think he led the team with 7 stops, which is a very legitimate thing. It shows that he's making tackles, but also making key and critical tackles. It was a really good performance, which again, you have to have against an explosive offense like the Rams. It's going to work you in the underneath and intermediate. If your tackling isn't up to par, you're going to give up yak, you're going to give up easy plays, and that's going to beat you when you're trying to keep the top on the defense.
Yeah, I thought, as you said earlier, that the defense did a great job in both the run and the pass game. I mean, limiting the Rams offense, one of the best play callers, play designers in the game in Sean McVay, to 6 for 13 on third downs, under 300 yards total. I mean, that's just an impressive day on the big stage. Only 3.7 yards per play. That is mind-boggling when you're talking Sean McVay's offense. And again, having that whole offseason to prepare for this game. When we were at training camp, there were some things that we looked at, as far as offense and defense. And we saw the Bills not blitz a lot at training camp and kind of focus on, again, fitting up the runners and wide receivers when they did catch the ball and just working on those details and those fundamentals. And it just showed in this game. I'm sure Leslie Frazier didn't totally plan on having 0 blitzes, but the way that the defensive line and the ways they were coming in, man, it can be suffocating. And as I said, it affected their quarterback.
You could tell Stafford was uncomfortable. This offensive line was on edge. And, you mentioned it, coming in waves. That was that huge benefit of this Bills defensive line depth and rotation showing up right in the face of Matthew Stafford and this Rams offense. When you have the ability to consistently pressure the quarterback and do it with a rotating, hockey line style rotation, it keeps guys fresh. It keeps the pressure on the offense. And it just seemed like, like we talked about, at will, no matter who you subbed in there, it was just pressure and run fits and gap integrity and pass rush lanes and angles, just a really technical performance along with a physically dominating performance as well. And when you have stuff like that, it's really fun to go back and watch it. And that's what we're going to do right now and dive into some of these clips and really highlight a lot of the successful moments from this defense structurally and also from these individual players as well.
Yeah, and I mean, their big acquisition, Mr. Von Miller, is the first clip we're going to take a look at. And I mean, he had an effect, in the stat box when it comes to getting to the quarterback and whatnot. But he also had, an effect when we look at some of the clips here, for the other defensive lineman on his team. And you see this play here. He is just blowing this left tackle back here. And I mean, just phenomenal stuff right there. And it's what's so cool about this is like he can beat you with speed, but he also can beat you with power. And this little hezzy rush that he does right here, right there, it gets that guy to punch out. But then look at his feet, look at his base,
off balance,
and then just woof. Just blows by him, takes the inside line to the quarterback for the sack. Just really good stuff from Von Miller on this play.
And what was beautiful about this one as well, the play before this, he gave a very similar hezzy rush, but then went outside and tried to dip underneath. And he came off the line on this play in a very similar fashion. The physical is obviously what we're highlighting here, but when you tie it together with what he did before in setting up this rush, again, it goes back to something that we talked about all offseason. The way he sets up his moves, his pass rush plan, his execution, like he is a true professional in terms of honing his craft as an edge rusher. And when you have the mental to go along with the physical, it's just so taxing. And Joe Noteboom's filling in for a Hall of Famer and Andrew Whitworth, and he gets set up the play before, and Von Miller almost got to Stafford. And then he comes back this time, uses that similar move, and just there's so much technicality when it comes to Von Miller, and you have it, freeze frame right here. Yeah. Look, as Noteboom like reaches to the sky pleading for help. Look where that hand placement is of Von Miller with that long arm directly in the chest, and he gets him. There's pop. He's not grabbing. He's not lunging. He's balanced. He gives that quick pop right to the chest, gets Noteboom off balance even further. He's off kilter. And like you said, he takes that inside line because that door is open. It's technical, it's smart, it's heady, it's physical, it's what he was brought in to do. And having that kind of play this early in the game, I think was a big mental piece, not only for him, but for this defense to really get the juices flowing.
Yeah, so you saw, the sack there by him and him overtaking the game there. But then let's look at the effect that he has on others because, I think it was Collinsworth that said that during the game, obviously Von Miller was brought here to rush, but, the others are obviously picking up their game as well. And I want you to watch Ed Oliver on this play. You can see Von Miller off to the left side of the screen there. So he is on Ed Oliver's side right here, but watch initially. So you get the slide right here to Von. That's expected. All right. We're expecting that, but then watch this guard right here, Edwards. Watch how he has to play Oliver initially, but then look where his eyes go. Oh, I got to go find Von. I need to help right here, help the left tackle here. But then more importantly, watch Ed Oliver on this play and his eyes and where his helmet goes. Okay, then he's looking. He's like, oh, that guy's about to peel off. Yes. And as soon as he does, here comes the rip. And then, again, the hit on the quarterback there. So that's a hit on the quarterback, and it's all because Von Miller is getting that attention of that guard having to slide out there. And Oliver is recognizing it in real time and then automatically transitioning to a move to get a hit on the quarterback.
It's beautiful on that left side, like that in the moment recognition from Ed Oliver stemming from the Von Miller effect, like you labeled. And then also because they slide to the Von Miller side, what does it leave us on the right side? It leaves one-on-ones for Jordan Phillips and one-on-ones for Gregory Rousseau. And Jordan Phillips just converts speed to power. He won in a variety of ways in this game. I feel bad for the right guard here, like as he kind of gives that initial hand and then just gets driven backwards with pure power. Between Phillips and Ed Oliver, the depth of the pocket is destroyed for Matthew Stafford. The entire interior is driven back into his lap. Stafford has nowhere to go. And that's also part of this Von Miller effect that we talked about. Like you get these one-on-one opportunities for other guys. Other guys are going to have the opportunity to win. Other guys are going to have the opportunity to eat. And it's just a matter of what they do with that. Like you're going to find out how good someone is and what kind of horses you have because they're going to get those opportunities. They're going to see less double teams. And in this instance, they're seeing one-on-ones because of that slide rule. And it's just, this is something we saw again consistently. And whether it was purely because of Von Miller, because of just individual performance, it doesn't matter. All of it added together resulted in consistent pressure that also led to sacks against Matthew Stafford and allowed the Bills to just sit back and play coverage and drop 7, and just a really good piece.
Yeah, I mean, the interior pressure will take this defense to another level.
That's the last thing you want to see as a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, when the pocket is being pushed into your lap, especially as a drop back quarterback, and you can't find an escape lane because you don't have legs like a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes, guess what? You got to just check it down like this. And then you see Micah Hyde come up there with a good disguise on the back end of man coverage, but they're really in zone. They come up and make the tackle and stop them short of the first down. It's something they did all day. And this is in the second quarter here, end of the first half. It's a 1st and 10 situation on the 29-yard line. And I want to talk about this play because if you look to the left side, big Jordan Phillips is head up over the left tackle here. And this is a stunt that we talked to Shaq Lawson about, right, Anthony, in the film room a few weeks ago.
Yeah, Shaq is really good at executing this piece and being that spiker inside. And ironically, when we talked about it with Shaq and broke it down on the film clip, it was him running it with Jordan Phillips, I believe back in 2018. And Phillips is so good as being that looper and executing. Yeah. I love how tight he stays right here. First, credit to Epinesa spiking inside, occupying no boom, and then getting into the left guard as well and giving Phillips that free access. But Phillips times it, and look how tight he is. That angle is almost, yes, he creates it. He fires right off of no boom's hip, and it's a beeline right to Stafford. There's nowhere to go. And what's also nice about that angle, even if it's a more mobile quarterback potentially, it shows that Phillips is cognizant. We know this because of Shaq Lawson. He's cognizant of those spots where the QBs like to drop and where they like to sit in the pocket. And they'll base their rushes midweek when they start to study and get that in the game plan of where the quarterback likes to sit and drop. Phillips takes a really good angle. And I think from the broadcast view, it just looks like, oh, he got free and it's a sack. But it's a good technical heady play because of the timing coming off Epinesa, firing off of No Boom's hip, and then taking that nice tight loop right into Stafford. It's a really well executed exit stunt, something the Bills love to do.
Yeah, and I did some cut-ups on Twitter of DaQuan Jones, who's right here, and he does all these little things that will go unnoticed. Tim Settle does it later here, and it's something I noticed in camp in one of the camp videos where one of the first practices where Von Miller was kind of getting to know the playbook. So you got the exit stunt off the left-hand side, but I want you to look at the wide alignments, first of all, especially by Phillips. He's in a 4-tech over the left tackle. That's not normal. Usually some kind of alert. No, it usually means some kind of game's coming like it does. But I want you to look how DaQuan Jones is able to occupy that center, and that's important because he does what we call pointing. He's not just going to rush into the gap here. He's going to slant and make sure he occupies that center. That's called pointing, and that's what they call it in the Bill system. And what that does is it doesn't allow him to be, looking this way at this game that may be unfolding here. He has to be worried about DaQuan Jones, and even Jones is able to push the pocket there. And again, you get the 2-on-1 over here on Von Miller. So again,
after the running back tried to maybe help on Von Miller, so technically you had like 2.5 or 3 people giving attention to Von Miller, and everybody else just executes and collapses the pocket again. Oh,
yeah, this is just good stuff. Again, 4-man rush, a 2-man game here that just collapses the pocket on the quarterback here. And here's another one. Look at the alignments of the defensive line. And we talked about this in the preseason. The Bills aren't normally a wide 9 team. I mean, these are like 11 techniques. Look how wide Miller and Rousseau
they're on the sidelines.
Yeah. And so a 4-man rush versus an empty look, more than likely you're going to get, some chips like you talked about in the preseason, or at the very least, a 5-man protection. And on this play, you're going to see the ghost move, Anthony, and you're going to see it twice. So off the right-hand side, watch Von Miller here. Tight end, again, this alignment right here is so that Von Miller is even further away. He aligns further away from the quarterback, allowing the tackle to get a little more help, again, with that alignment. And just watch how he, again, dips under. There's that first ghost move, and then, okay, here comes the tackle. Thinks he has a good line to him, thinks he's just going to punch out, and then he just makes his pads disappear. And there's no way Bradford is expecting this, especially from the distance out wide that Von Miller was aligned, but he's able to get home on this play. I mean, this is why you go and get one of the premier pass rushers in the league.
The super rare double ghost that
Double
is
ghost.
only
I love
used
it.
on the rarest of occasions. It's beautiful. And also, like, you're all jokes aside, you're pretty spot on. Like, they're basically in like an 11 tech, like with how
I've never used that. I don't think that's a thing, but that's how wide they are. It's
it's a thing
ridiculous.
now because like with those chip helpers there on each side, like they're already split and spaced even more. And then Von and Groot are outside both of them. And I really like the use of the wide alignments that the Bills started to get into with this game, especially for someone like Von Miller. Like when you're able to get into those wide alignments, it really works to isolate the offensive tackles in space, and it creates the opportunities for your edge rushers to beat blockers with speed and technique, and even potentially open them up on the inside to set back up and come underneath. It just gives you a variety of options. And when you have a stud, like you said, like why you go out and get somebody like a Von Miller, it's because he can get you a bucket at any time. Like this is almost like ISO ball. Like everybody just clear out. Let me go 1-on-1 with this guy. In this case, it's like 2-on-1 or 1.5-on-1 because the tight end tries to give him chip help. And it just looks like that move isn't normal. Like that level of bend and dip at that speed. And the fact that he hits that bend and that dip, he doesn't lose momentum. Like it doesn't slow him down or get him off course.
He's so
Just a
smooth,
quick,
man.
he's so smooth. Like, and again, it's all these things we keep talking about. And you see it in a variety of ways, whether it's the mental game and how he's honed his craft, or the technique, or the athleticism, or like in this instance, it's the athleticism and the technique in one, also combined with a little bit of head games for him to set up and get that tackle to reach and then dip underneath him. Like it's just a beautiful piece. And again, this is a 5-man protection, but with the chip help, it's almost like it's a 7-man protection initially. The Bills only rush 4 and they get home again. And because those chip help players they are chipping, it's going to take them longer to get into the route distribution. So effectively, you're delaying them from getting out into the route, which means you have the 5 offensive linemen plus the 2 chippers plus the quarterback. That's 8. There's only 3 out in the route distribution versus 7. 3 versus 7 is a numbers advantage for the defense every single time. And then you highlighted it on the inside. You got 3-on-2. And the tackles are isolated.
And then 2-on-1 outside with the chip help. I mean, like you would think the offense is in good shape here, right?
You would think like they have the numbers advantage as of this point. And again, you're doing this to halt the pass rush so you can work downfield if you're the Rams. And then if the downfield options aren't there, you hit down to the checkdowns. And it's worked a lot for the Rams. They did it a lot last year en route to a Super Bowl, and Von Miller just ends it in the blink of an eye with the double ghost. Like that, there's just some players who can play above, we talk about it playing above the scheme or, playing outside of it. And the Rams have a good scheme going on offense. I know they didn't show up great in this game, but Von just wrecks it in the blink of an eye with that double ghost and that athleticism. And goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's he's so smooth. Like maybe that explosiveness when he was coming out of college isn't there, but he almost like a wide receiver knows how to change his pace and his tempo to his rush. And then he uses some of those hezzy moves that just force guys to punch out. And then he just dips under those hands. Like his ghost move. I mean, it's just
once he gets those tackles, when those tackles reach and extend, it's over. He's got you because he's either going under you or he's going through you. If you make that first move and you're not precise or right in the right position and balance, you're done. And we got to stop because we got a super chat from Gabe. Thank you very much, Gabe, for being here. Yeah, big time. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for the super chat. And he also had a really cool comment. He just says, "Hey guys, I love hearing your player breakdowns." And he gave us a little 100 emoji. Appreciate you, Gabe. Thank you very much for showing support and for being here and the kind words. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's something that we've always wanted to do, and these film rooms are just so much fun because we've expanded. Early on, Gabe, it was, hey, we're just going to do Josh Allen film room when we're tracking his development over the years. But now he's that star, so we want to start highlighting other guys. And we're lucky this year, especially when we're talking on the defensive side of the ball, because guys like Von Miller over there, you got offensive line coaches like Aaron Cromer. Like there's so much stuff that we can pull from now to do these film rooms. It's not just going to be Josh Allen on a week-to-week basis, but Josh Allen's going to be in there. There's no doubt about it.
He probably will. There's so much good film. We could do a film room like every day between Bills games, or at least for this first week, and like have enough film every day, whether we focused on a position group or a player. Like that's how many good performances there were in this game.
Yeah, and so we'll move on to the next one. This is another sacked by Jordan Phillips. And as I talked about in the last play with him, look at the wide alignments. Ball's on the left hash. You have him in a 4 technique over the left tackle, Epinesa out to his right. And then you got Tim Settle in a 4-eye right here off the right tackle. And then Boogie Basham out wide just inside Cooper Kupp. But you're going to see Tim Settle, again, this may not go into the box score here, but watch how he slants inside and gets that touch on Brian Allen. He gets that first touch on Brian Allen, the center there, and that allows Jordan Phillips to stab inside and then do that spin move inside into that A-gap. And I posted this on Twitter because given the 5-man protection here with the ball in the left hash, I think they knew that they were going to get this half slide either for one or two reasons. Usually, teams will set their pass protections, especially half slide pass protections, either to the passing strength or to the field, because that's, a lot of teams will rush extra guys from the field. I think that they expected this half slide here. And when I sent this play to Jordan to get ready for tonight, with my breakdown and my analysis, he confirmed that this was the case, how, Tim Settle got first touch. He pointed on that center, and then it allowed him, because right now this left guard's in trouble. He has a two-way go. Either of these two gaps he can go into, and you see him attack that B gap first, but then chop, spin, and it's just so pretty. Look at Edwards tries punching out with his right hand right there, and so there's a chop. Here's the ice pick, and then he's by him, and he's able to get the hit on the quarterback there. Just really pretty stuff from a guy that's probably in the 330, 340 range.
Yeah, a very large man should not be moving so nimbly and so efficiently. And especially when you pair it with a couple of highlights we've shown from earlier in this game where he's just converting speed to power and bull rushing offensive linemen. Now he's also got that in the repertoire. And also, no disrespect to Jordan Phillips, he's a rotational piece seeing more work because Ed Oliver went down. Like, this is technically one of your second line, or second string defenders on the front who's executing at this level against starters. Just really impressive from Phillips. But I love the point you made about Settle. Like, you can see how eager he is here as he gets off. Like, he's eager to get that first touch. He wants it. And he just gives a quick stab to that right shoulder of the center. I'm sorry, left shoulder, right shoulder from Settle's perspective, just to get him off balance and get him to commit. And once, and what's also similar? We talk about technique and things continuing. He gives a similar punch and a similar stab with that hand, similar to what Von Miller did to the chest of Joe Noteboom earlier in the game. We're seeing all these sustainable traits and these sustainable execution pieces happening, much like we were with the offensive line in the preseason. We saw it with the defensive line in this game. Multiple players executing the same moves in a similar fashion, all with the design of getting offensive linemen off balance, taking advantage. And, Phillips is the sexy play. And, you did a great job breaking it down. So I feel like I don't really need to add anything to it. But Settle, for me, like you mentioned, that's the prototypical doing your 111th.
Yeah, he did.
Do your job. Do your job. Like I was going to say, we're either going to say 111th or part of the process or championship caliber, some kind of Sean McDermott euphemism. Like, if he doesn't do that, Phillips either doesn't get home because the center's able to go over and give help, or it makes him getting this clean of a rush angle to Matthew Stafford much, much, much different. So, kudos and props to Phillips. Also kudos to Frazier and McDermott for the design and the alignment. But Settle helps a ton here by engaging early, having that sense of urgency, and executing well to get that center off balance and off kilter.
Yeah, that wide alignment, again, you may not notice it in the broadcast, but it is so important. Why? Because this guard has to kick out to Jordan Phillips. So as he's kicking out, look how wide he has to kick out to him. Okay, now he's, got the inside leverage, but then that's when Jordan Phillips is able to bust out that spin move. And just little things like that went a long way in this game to have those pass rushers get home. And I know you love this play, so I'm going to let you talk about this one. You posted it on Twitter the other day.
I do. Real quick on the previous one, you don't have to go back to it, but I also love having those guards have to widen like that against those wide alignments from your fronts. You're almost making them play in space as if they're an offensive tackle, and they're not built to live in that kind of world in pass protection. Most guards don't have the footwork and the athleticism to exist in that kind of space. So you're putting players in disadvantageous positions and playing to their vulnerabilities rather than to their strengths. just another like awesome piece. Sorry, I got excited.
No, that's okay, because Edwards actually played tackle, I believe, in college too. So that's the other thing. Like, that's a pretty good matchup. But I mean, with the size and speed and the agility by Jordan Phillips shown on that rep and in this game, good luck. Because as you said, he's not even technically a starter. So the waves that the Bills have as pass rushers, Leslie Frazier talked about in his presser. He's like, if we can rush 4 like that consistently, whew, it's going to be a long season for opposing offenses.
It's going to be super hard for offenses. And again, I love that point with like Edwards having tackle experience. So he's more comfortable in that situation than most guards, and he gets worked. And unfortunately for him, he gets worked here again.
He gets worked here too.
This time in a different way. What's nice about this one? So Edwards is trying to be aggressive here. He's stepping out. He's the aggressor. He's trying to take it to Phillips, and he does something that Aaron Cromer would be kind of proud of. He comes out with some hands. The execution and the placement isn't great, but he comes out and he tries to be the aggressor, establish his hand control, establish placement, and he fires out of his set. Like, Edwards is out and as the attacker with his platform before Phillips is really out of his stance. And in the blink of an eye, you highlighted it, that cross chop, just the active hands. This is so textbook to what we see it all the time, like in training camp when like defensive linemen have like the pads with their defensive line coach and they're just working on like hand technique. And it looks like they're, engaging in jujitsu or kung fu or whatever martial art you want to go with. Edwards reaches out with that right arm, tries to get contact, tries to establish.
I mean, that's his hand. I highlighted his right hand. That's Jordan Phillips' right hand over the top of the forearm of Edwards. Look at how quick that is. It's look so at that money. And it's right there. And the placement too, like you can see it, like the black glove that he's wearing, like it's perfectly draped over. Like he establishes wrist control right away in the blink of an eye, and then finishes with him with that right arm. I still feel so bad for Edwards twice in a row, and just rips right through, chops in the blink of an eye. Like when you're not watching it in slow motion and it's fast, like it's literally, if you blinked, you would miss it. He clears him with the right, swipes it with the left. Edwards gets turned, and Phillips has a free access alley to Matt Stafford. And again, like if you're Edwards, you got beat earlier in the game because Phillips was in a wide alignment and you tried to kind of let him come to you and he beat you with a spin move. So you're thinking, we've talked to Mitch Morse, we've talked to Ryan Bates. What do they talk about? Like, okay, last time in this situation in a pass protection, I did this move. So this time I'm going to try this, yada, yada. Edwards is trying something new and he gets beat immediately off rip with hand technique. So what have we seen from Jordan Phillips so far in these clips, right? We saw speed to power. We saw athleticism and technicality. This time, we just see pure technique. This is what you're taught. This is what you do day one in training camp, or as you're just kind of sitting, chilling in drills, waiting to go and do team. You see that cross chop. You see that hand technique. And it's the quickness. It's the accuracy. It's the placement. And then also the power and the athleticism to translate it. He gets moving downhill, and it's over. And he absolutely crushes Matthew Stafford clean for today's NFL. Crushes Stafford. Like this one's still it's just the quickness and the accuracy of his hands. Like that's, again, we talked about the alignment not being normal. That's not normal. Just it's not, man. It's like, that's just God-given ability, and it's so nice to see from, again, a fan favorite and a guy that, we wish we could have broken those plays down with him tonight, but he's just a guy that you want to root for, right? He's a guy that you want to root for. And he just brings so much juice to that defense and a different element, an element that they missed last year, the last couple of years. And he's just going to help the pass rush. He helped, obviously, the run game and defending the run and the linebackers. He's going to be a handful, especially when you think about it, again, as that second wave, as that second wave guy who could come in there, give Ed Oliver or DaQuan a spell at either of those defensive tackle positions, and still get first touch with his length or speed to power or spin moves. Like, he's got so many tools in the toolbox that, man, he's going to be a handful for a lot of opposing offenses, not just David Edwards.
Yeah, I feel so bad. This is just like a rip on David Edwards, like this whole episode of the Film Room. But yeah, you nailed it. Like, again, it's that him having those tools in the toolbox is impressive and fun but it's even more so considering that he's, again, more of like a second line guy. And when you have somebody in the second line who has that type of skill set and those tools in the toolbox paired with a Tim Settle, paired with DaQuan Jones and Ed Oliver, all of a sudden the interior of this Buffalo Bills front is legitimately revamped versus last year. They've done it multiple off seasons in a row, trying to redo their defensive front, and it's just one game. Sample size is low.
Right.
We know week one can be wonky, but a lot of sustainability and encouragement for performance going forward from Jordan Phillips and that entire Buffalo Bills defensive line and that defensive front. And also some things that were encouraging in this game. We would be, we would engage in a faux pas if we didn't talk about this Buffalo Bills offense. I like that word. It makes me smile. Josh Allen, Gabriel Davis, the offensive line, Stefon Diggs, aspects of the running game. There was similar to what the Bills defense had when we came back and looked at the film. The Bills offense had a lot to choose from, a lot to like, a lot to highlight, and again, made our job tougher in trying to figure out what to highlight because there was so much good.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, one of my worries was Ken Dorsey going in on the big stage, play calling, play sequencing, maybe overthinking it, given his competitive nature, overthinking a game plan with all the entire offseason to prepare for this game, versus obviously a high profile defense and some really, really good players on that defense. It says that's karma for Stafford pushing that lady off the stage last year. That's dirty, bro. But yeah, I say Jordan Phillips definitely pushed Stafford off the stage, the big stage in his own stadium. That's what's crazy. Wow. I forgot about that. About that. Wow. Yeah, that threw me off.
Yeah, he bailed when that lady fell. Like he just straight left, and that's what much like Phillips did after he buried Stafford in the ground and then just kind of skirt.
Yeah, that was funny. And so yeah, I was worried about Dorsey, but he answered every question I had about him. For the most part, the process looked pretty good as far as getting the plays in. I saw a couple times where Josh had to go like this to tell Dorsey to rerun the play in his mic, but could have been, the sound in the building or whatnot. But the best part about his game plan for me was just the quick game, man. His ability to get Josh in the right play versus the proper coverage, and his ability to get the ball into Josh's hands and out of Josh's hands in a quick amount of time. And I want to bring up some stats courtesy of Sports Info Solutions. I hope you guys can see this. Let me kind of enlarge it so you can see it here. So these are all the dropbacks right here of Josh Allen. 21 dropbacks in this game were 0 or 1 step drops. So that means he took the snap from shotgun, he looked to one side and got rid of the ball, and more times than not, he completed it. Completed 15 and 19 in those situations for 124 yards. Those were tops in the league. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a couple of pressures and sacks. But for the most part, Ken Dorsey did a great job, whether it came to RPOs, whether it came to just quick games, in-breaking routes, swing passes, checkdowns. Josh Allen was very quick to get the ball out of his hands. And aside from the first few series, I think that really frustrated the Rams defense, but more specifically, Aaron Donald.
I mean, we couldn't do the prep for this game in the film room last week when we talked about scouting the Rams. We couldn't have done that without talking about Aaron Donald. And despite the fact that the Bills won this game and all the attention is paid to the Bills defense and Bills offense, Aaron Donald was a force early on. He got Ryan Bates several times one on a really violent swim move, one on just pure power and attack in the shoulder. Donald was in the backfield regularly, and
I was worried when it started that way. I was really worried.
It was like the second play or third play of the game, and he got right in there. And a good way to neutralize that is quick game. And, you throw the ball before Aaron Donald has time to get to your quarterback. And then also, Eric, what's nice, and it's something that we were talking on Twitter about, you couple that with the Rams, especially in the first half, playing a lot of off coverage. And those two things, it was like the Rams coverage was trying to help the Bills avoid Aaron Donald. And then you've got somebody up in the booth like Ken Dorsey who's able to see it and recognize it and be like, okay, we want to get the ball out quick so Aaron Donald doesn't have a chance to get to Josh Allen. But also, it's like taking candy from a baby because there's all this space open underneath, whether it's on option routes or slants or glances. Like there was just so much open underneath that the Bills were able to take advantage of. And it's part of the reason Josh Allen started 10 for 10 because there was so much space underneath. And when you're able to go quick game like that and attack, there's that space, so you're getting easy yards. You're also avoiding Aaron Donald because he doesn't have the time to get in the backfield. That game plan from Ken Dorsey, in conjunction with how the Rams were starting and on the back end in coverage, it couldn't have worked out better for the Buffalo Bills to start this game and get into a rhythm.
Yeah, I mean, it was just out so quick. And again, that helps your offensive line. And you start to get in rhythm and you get a good pace going and you just gain confidence in moving the ball down the field. Add in, the kind of the stuff that Aaron Kromer added to the offense when it comes to the run game. Why don't you talk about some of that stuff? Because I did a video on that over the weekend, and I was just incredibly impressed at Kromer's approach. And he kind of stole some things from Shanahan, a guy that has had some success running the ball against this Rams defense.
Yes, the 49ers last year, honestly, they should have taken all 3 games against the Rams, including the NFC Championship, if Jaquiski Tartt comes down with that interception. Offensively, defensively, every game, they had such good game plans against the Rams. And, Kyle Shanahan is a terrific play designer, and he's kind of at the top of that coaching tree with a lot of all the branches and extensions and offshoots that you see in offensive coordinators and play callers in today's NFL. And yeah, you did that video breakdown, and it was funny because I saw your video breakdown after I started clipping a whole bunch of the surge motions, and I was like, oh my God, we're noticing the same thing. That's how awesome this thing is. Like, we talk about it in the offseason, right? The offseason is the time when teams self-scout, and they also look at other teams. They look at what has worked and they steal those ideas and those concepts and they add them to their offense, to their defense, whatever have you. And that surge motion piece is a Kyle Shanahan piece that's been happening since the beginning of last year, where they put that H-back or that fullback or that tight end in motion. They're still in motion at the snap, and then they use them to lead a run through, whether it's the opposing tight end and tackle or inside the tackle, and use them as basically like an in-motion momentum generating lead blocker. And it worked well for the Bills. They used Reggie Gilliam in that role on the majority of them. They used Dawson Knox a couple times, and Reggie Gilliam was very effective in that world, widening the hole and also climbing to the second level at times. Sometimes he spent a little too much time on that initial, widening piece before he got to the second level. This is one of them right here. Look how he comes in that motion. Boom. Gets right in there with Dawson Knox and helps widen that hole. Look how much space Devin Singletary has. You have Deion Dawkins getting to his man and starting to reach and turn. Look at Roger Saffold sealing off his man, Mitch Morse sealing his. Like, Devin Singletary's decision is made for him. And you highlighted Gilliam. He's able to get to Troy Hill back there at corner. Like, Devin Singletary, so that ball is at the 35. This is so well executed. When Devin Singletary's running, let's see how far he gets downfield before he gets touched. So he doesn't get touched until he's 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. And at that point, he's generating enough momentum combined with that defender coming off Dawkins's block to the point where Singletary is able just to attack that shoulder, run through an arm tackle, and generate an explosive run and a first down. It's a kudos to Singletary, and it's a kudos to the execution of the blocking up front. But again, it's that design. It's taking that Kyle Shanahan surge concept piece and utilizing it and generating a really nice explosive run out of it. Really great thing to steal this past offseason.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting to watch that run game develop, because Kromer, again, and you know what? He had time to study. That's the thing. Like, that's not talked about, when he was out of the league. Like, he had time to study the offensive trends and some of the best rushing attacks, whether it's the Niners or even the Rams. Like, he had time on his hands to not just sit back and enjoy some time with the family, but to study the trends of the league and, pass protections and run blocking. And you can see that he stole some of that Shanahan, that Midas touch when you talk about the run game there. So, but I want to get into some of the offense when we're talking the passing game here and some of the tweaks that we saw from Ken Dorsey, because, Dorsey did run a lot of the stuff that Dable installed over the last few years. But I did like this piece right here. And this is a 2nd and 8 situation here. And the Bills are an empty set. But look at the alignment of these wide receivers out wide. So you got 2 right here to the very top and 2 to the very bottom. But they're maxed out when you talk about their alignments. And then in the middle of the field is just sitting Stefon Diggs. And this is great. He's just working a choice route over the middle. But you can see, based on the alignment, I mean, who's gonna be covering this area right here? He doesn't quite know yet. But more than likely, it's maybe him dropping out. It could be Bobby Wagner or the safety not likely, could be dropping down, but those are the three guys that could probably drop into that area. When the ball is snapped, it's such an easy read for him because the defense is spread out because of this formational alignment. They're maxed out in their splits. And so he sees that edge guy drop out. This is just stealing. Comes across the face here, shows his numbers. Josh gets it to him really quickly. Again, getting the ball out quickly for Josh. 0, 1-step drop, ball out. Diggs gets a first down.
I love how you highlighted how maxed out the bunches were, because this ties into that Ken Dorsey piece, like setting Josh Allen up for success. When you go this spread, like you said, you force the defense to kind of show their hand and tip their hand a little bit because of how they're going to align. Like they have to kind of indicate what coverage they're giving, and you can eliminate a lot of certain aspects. Okay, like they can't get to this coverage based on their pre-snap alignment. This guy is most likely covering this guy. And even if you're looking at the defensive line, okay, say they bring all 5 that are lined up there, okay, you've got a body on a body. It's 5 on 5. That means Wagner's going to come and have to cover Diggs. Diggs can either sit or still get across his face if the protection holds up in time. Or you get, in this instance, like you said, the other high percentage option is Leonard Floyd dropping into coverage off the line, which is what happens. Either way, whatever it is, Josh Allen's best receiver is the closest in proximity to him, and he has a matchup advantage regardless of what they play. That's exactly it. Like, it's so simple. We talk about how complex just completing a pass is, like a 6-yard hitch. There's so much that goes into it. This is like the opposite of our theory and all of what we talk about, because this is just like almost close to being pitch and catch. And kudos to Josh, kudos to Diggs, both of them reading the same thing in real time, post-snap. But a lot of kudos and credit has to go to Ken Dorsey for this initial play design and forcing the defense's hand and making things very simple and very easy for Josh Allen.
Yeah, and the next play we're going to take a look at is a 3rd-and-1 situation. This is the touchdown by Gabriel Davis. And, I mean, we've broken this down several times.
So much.
So much last year. I mean, we saw it in the Panthers game, the Saints game. I mean, they run it in these short yardage situations time and time again, all the time. And this was a little different, because they kind of did the tackle over. So you see Spencer Brown over here. So they're really trying to sell this power run with the right guard pulling here. And look at the flow from right to left on your screen. Here comes Gabriel Davis. He's motioning in, and he's blocking the end man on the line of scrimmage, selling that perfectly. You see the fake right there to Moss, and everything's going this way. And this guy is kind of held off here on the edge. But more importantly, Jalen Ramsey, who's kind of off the screen here, his eyes are in the backfield. He sees Gabriel Davis blocking, and Davis shows that patience. And this, with Josh Allen getting onto the perimeter, Jalen Ramsey is going to trigger. He's going to like, hey, this guy's coming out here on 3rd-and-1. Let me go get him. Well, he jumps up, and then Josh just floats it up and over the top, as we've seen, to Gabriel Davis, to Dawson Knox for the touchdown in these short yardage situations. Just a pretty play design, a nice little tweak by Dorsey. But the Bills ran this a ton under Brian Daboll last year.
Yeah, and Brian Daboll ran it at least once in the Giants-Tennessee game, although it didn't work. I think Jones had to scramble on it. Yeah, it didn't. Didn't work. And part sorry, Daniel Jones. Sorry, Giants. Right. But they got the win. They went for 2. They got it. So kudos to them. They're 1-0. And part of this works because Josh Allen's threat as a runner, like that color flashes, and Jalen Ramsey sees it. And you can, because in Ramsey's mind, right, he thinks Gabriel Davis is blocking. So he sees Gabriel Davis out of his peripherals. He sees that he's engaged. Once Davis engages there, Jalen Ramsey sees the run action, and he's thinking, okay, Davis is a blocker. The Bills at times have run this where Josh Allen is the individual runner. So Ramsey, in his mind right now, it makes sense. Number 1, well, Gabe Davis is number 13, but the number 1 receiver on that side. He's engaged. He's blocking. This is a boot. Allen's going to try and run. I'm coming up. He doesn't realize that Davis has released behind him. This one is, like you said, it's real pretty. I don't know if I like this one more than the Saints one, where Marshawn Lattimore was left grasping at Dawson Knox and then couldn't get him. But it's just really good play design and, of course, a good sell job and acting by Gabriel Davis. Whatever route you're trying to run, whether it's, you're trying to run vertical, you want to sell anything but that, or if you're running something underneath, you always want to sell the vertical and then get to whatever else you're running. Deception is such a key piece when it comes to route running. And he sells like he's blocking. Yeah. His body language, the engage, he doesn't even give like a fake like tap. Like he genuinely gives some engagement. Like he looks like he's blocking. And again, why is that also a threat? Because you have a big-bodied receiver in Gabriel Davis who's a good blocker. That threat is real. Look at him. He's chest on chest. He's like fully engaged right there, selling it. He's just an absolute liar and deceiver. You cannot believe anything that he's doing. And then the timing as well. Like when he releases from his block into his route, the timing at which, like Allen has that fake, really good ball fake as well, to hide the ball and shield it and get the whole defense fast flows with Moss. He's getting just into his boot and into his arc when Davis is releasing. So the timing works out where Allen has full field of vision and the defenders have already come forward.
Yeah. And the thing with this is, and this is actually a run call. So what the Bills call their power run, or at least what they called it last year, is Cobra. So anytime Josh got to the line of scrimmage, they have a lot of one-word calls. Hey, Cobra, Cobra, Cobra. That means they're going to be running power out of whatever formation was called, right? Well, Josh has the option in these short yardage situations to run with a pass tag. And so Josh in the huddle probably had, Cobra Kai, I don't know, some other name or tag for this route from Gabriel Davis to let him know, hey, you're not really just going to block this guy and cut him off so he can't come down the line of scrimmage and make a tackle. You're actually going to run a pass route here. And so it's
he's going to run the Kai, the Cobra
Kai. I know you like that, right?
I love
it. So it's actually a run call, but there's a pass tag, and the Bills do this all the time, especially with like a lot of their RPOs. And so that's what it was called last year. I don't know what Dorsey calls it now, but I'm sure if you look at some of the broadcast footage as the year goes on, you'll pick up on it, because that's how I picked up on this Cobra call. It's a power run with a pass tag. So that's a play that they ran a bunch over the last couple of years, and it was my favorite concept last year. But when we talk about some new things that Ken Dorsey added to the offense, it's this play right here. And the Bills ran this concept, the switch concept, to the bottom of the screen. They ran it, I want to say 4 or 5 times. It's a 3rd and 2 situation. This is an old run and shoot play from back in the day. If you guys remember June Jones, he used to run this all the time with especially Hawaii.
I was going to say, this is a Hawaii offense all day.
And so when I saw the run and shoot, when I saw this concept, I had to reach out to him. And so I reached out to him, and I'll let it roll. And I want to show you the little screenshot he sent me. It's a terrible, terrible quality, but I want to show it to you. So watch the motion by McKenzie and what it does as the Rams are in this single high look. Here are your 4 defenders underneath single high coverage. But watch this guy kind of bump out with the motion by McKenzie, and they're going to snap it as he's still in motion. And what that does is it makes this guy widen out to the flats, because it looks like it's a more of a cover 3 type defense. But look at the void that it creates. All right. So these two are switching. It's called a switch release. Their switching release is almost changing assignments here. And all Gabriel Davis is going to do is sit right there. And it's an easy read for Josh Allen out of this 0-1 step drop because of that little motion by McKenzie. And so as that window opens up, watch the anticipation by Josh. Top of the drop. And look at Gabriel Davis. Head's not been snapped around yet. Ball's already coming out. There's that big void there. This corner is not going to be able to drive on that. This guy's not going to get a piece of it, nor is this guy. And it's just right in that little soft spot. And the ball's there as soon as Gabriel Davis turns around, and the Bills are able to move the ball on this play. Just some really cool stuff from an old concept that, again, June Jones used to run a lot of. And when I asked him about this concept, Anthony, today, he said that you got to give some kudos to Cole Beasley. Because Cole Beasley brought a lot of these concepts from his days under June Jones
at SMU.
And Emmanuel Sanders. He said you should give some credit to Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders when you go live tonight. So I'm going to, because it was their influence. A bunch of the plays and their influence from last year. But here's the play. Again, the quality, sorry about it, but you can see this is from his playbook. This is from his playbook. This is the switch concept. You can see the X and H to the left side of the formation there. And this is what I want to talk about, Anthony, because someone I know, I won't mention his name, said that this Bills offense is a timing offense. Look at the route adjustments that those two receivers, Gabriel Davis and McKenzie, would have on this switch concept. Look at the different adjustments based on man, zone, 1 high, 2 high that they have, the options they have, and how they have to be on the same page with Josh Allen. That's why Josh Allen's arm strength is such a big deal in this run and shoot offense, in this non-timing based offense, because as soon as they get open, as soon as they find space, as soon as they win leverage, he gets the ball out. This is not a timing offense. So get that out of your head, guys. I know one of the national writers talked about that. This is not a timing offense. There are elements of timing, but Josh is not a timing quarterback. That was never the design of this offense under Brian Daboll, and it's not under Ken Dorsey.
I also don't like I think the bigger problem that I have with, other than like the incorrect labeling of this being like a timing offense, I think I have more of a problem with like the negative connotation that comes with it, because people act like Josh can't operate on rhythm and he has issues going through like he can't be a progression passer and read what's going on in front of him. And even just, this is one tiny snippet, tiny screenshot there with that concept, that switch concept that June Jones sent. Like you said, look at the multitude of possibilities for the receivers, but also for Josh Allen. He has to read the same thing the receivers are reading at the same time. And also, this goes back to what Tavon Austin said when he first came to the Bills this offseason. He said, this is the most complicated and complex and mentally challenging offense he's ever been a part of. And a large part of it is because so much of it is based on reads. If you're in man coverage, you have these multitude of possibilities. And even within man, you have to read the leverage of your defender. If it's zone, you have this multitude of possibilities, and then you have to read the leverage. And then also the quarterback is reading those same things as your receivers. So it's mentally taxing. And I think Josh Allen gets such a rep for the physical, and I feel like people don't appreciate his ability to play quarterback from the neck up.
They're starting to diminish it. Yeah, they're starting to diminish from the shoulders up and how far he's come. It's crazy.
Or they're trying to act like, oh, he finally learned how to do it. It's like, no, this has been the offense for the last couple of years.
Broadcast. Yeah,
people
when they
just
said
don't.
That on the broadcast,
it's infuriating. And then Marcus Spears said something similar. I wish I shouldn't have dropped names. Real quick though, we got a super chat and we got a question. Joel, thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for the super chat. Joel is saying he's heard the call blue cheese on the field, and he wants to know what that means. I don't think I've heard it.
I didn't hear that one. No, I when I watch my first rewatch of the broadcast footage before all 22 comes out is usually first. I like to steal signs. I like to turn up the volume and try to listen into some of the calls. And one thing that I don't know, blue cheese. If you have a timestamp. Please send it to us, because I'll go ahead and look into it because I love that stuff. I love that because then it comes into play down the line. So, Joel, I'm sorry to let you down, man. I've not heard that call, but send us that timestamp. Get it to us, and we'll look into it.
It will get found out. I would say much like Cobra. What was the gold before that? That was the tunnel
gold
screen
rip,
call.
Gold disco. Gold. They had so many different calls, man.
Send it to us, Joel. We'll do the detective work and figure it out. You will get your answers in terms of what. If somebody tuned in right now and saw this up on the screen, they'd be like, "What are they talking about?"
No, I just love this tweak, Anthony. I love this little motion. Again, they ran it several times. I posted it on my personal Twitter. It's something that, again, June Jones run and shoot. Like, this is a credit to Cole Beasley and June Jones and Emmanuel Sanders to bring that in. It's just like, it makes it so easy. And you can see why Josh was able to get rid of the ball so quickly. When you have that little motion, how it opens up that window for Josh.
Yeah, what's also nice too. Like, this also goes back to just, again, it's very complicated, but it also just functions like simple football. Like this route combo at the bottom, like I know McKenzie curls back inside, but it almost functions just kind of like slant flats, where you're just watching that like an apex defender get.
Well, what do you think this guy is going to do? Why he's going out that way? That's exactly what he's thinking, right?
Exactly. He's thinking flat route from McKenzie, so he's got to go out that way. McKenzie ends up turning him back in, but it doesn't matter because Gabe Davis is just waiting for that apex defender to clear so that he can hook up. Josh is reading the same thing. So it's a twist and it's a read and it's a switch concept, but it goes back to that whole idea of like nothing is new in football. Everybody just recycles and uses different things and puts twists on stuff. Even with like so many of the RPO combinations with like you have the run pass option and then also a pass tag. It's kind of just like new age triple option football. Like everything is kind of cyclical and related to original concepts and ideas. And this one, it's a new tweak and a new twist, but it just operates off of a simple concept, which is pull that apex defender. And if he doesn't go with that underneath route, you hit the underneath. If he does, you wait for that outside receiver, number one, to clear and you hit him in the spot. Josh reads it right away, throws it with anticipation, bang, bang. You got an easy completion.
Yeah. And there's two things I want to cover before I move on to the next play real quick. Keep an eye on Diggs and Knox to the top of the screen. You have that Haas concept, seam route, stop route to the top. Obviously the ball doesn't go there, but remember that route combination later. And then from the end zone angle, I want to kind of talk about Zach Moss because I know a lot of fans are down on him, especially fumbling the ball. But little things like this go a long way of why he's activated. So he's coming through the line of scrimmage, and this offensive line is sliding this way. So it's a 4-man slide, one-on-one out here with Dawkins. And I want you to watch Moss as he comes into the line of scrimmage because Gaines, much like we saw with Jordan Phillips, he has a two-way go here because Saffold is that pivot guy of that 4-man slide. So Gaines has really options here. So he stabs inside, but then tries coming back outside. But watch Moss here. We talked about chip blocks and nudge blocks and all that with the Rams going into this game. Watch this little block that no one even really noticed in this game. Look at that nudge block right there. And why is that important? Because Gaines probably has a pretty good line right here. Not to necessarily get to Josh with the 0-1 step drop, but more importantly, maybe just get his hands up and get his hands on the ball.
Get in the window, get in the lane.
Yeah, get in that window on 3rd and 2. But that little nudge block, it doesn't get noticed by a lot of people. But when you bring you guys in the film room for little things like that, that's part of the reason why he's activated on Sundays, because his blocking is some of the best on the team, if not the best when it comes to running when it comes to pass blocking, but also out of the backfield. Another thing we talked about this offseason. For
sure. Real quick. Chris came in with a super chat. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the donation. He says the blue cheese incident, 9:51 in the second quarter. Inquiring minds want to know. Joel also came back and commented and said 9:52 in the second quarter. So that's the timestamp that we're looking at. I've also made note of it. I love what you mentioned with Zach Moss, though. I think people are being even harder on Moss because Singletary looked good. I thought Zach Moss played well. He showed burst. I liked how he was able to leverage space in the receiving game. That's also something that we've alluded to. Like he's a legitimate piece coming out of the backfield. He's not as flashy as James Cook, and he's not as bursty, but he knows how to release out of the backfield on time, in rhythm, read defenders, and make himself QB friendly and get open for Josh Allen. And then, as you alluded to, he's the best pass protecting running back on this team. Singletary had a couple good pass pro reps in this game, but Moss is still the best back when it comes to anything and everything pass protection on this Buffalo Bills roster.
Yeah, and so I think this is the play, and it looks like this is 9:56 of the second quarter, second and 3rd and 4 maybe. But look at the formation. Look at the alignments by the wide receivers up top. Josh obviously changed a play here. This looks like an audible. Watch how the wide receivers change. So when I get to the broadcast copy, I'll kind of look into that. It looks like some kind of audible for sure. So good eyes on that, Joel. And thanks for getting the timestamps here. But definitely got to go to the broadcast for that to confirm blue cheese. But this was just a curl swing to Moss here. And so we'll get to the bottom of that later, but good eye there. So let's move on to the next play here. And this is one of our segments that we're going to start doing.
Alliteration. I love it.
Yeah. Jukes. So let's bring this in here. Josh's Jukes. All right. This is a segment we're going to have when we have time and we have, the film to back it up. Josh, he got on the angry run segment. So in the film room, we're going to call it Josh's Jukes, 3rd and 7 play here. And you can see it's really good job by the Rams on the back end. There's really no one open, but there's also no one spying Josh Allen on this play. This is your robber defender in the middle of the field, and he's several yards downfield. Singletary does a good job picking up Bobby Wagner right here. But you can see there's not much from this angle, especially down the field. So Josh takes off, and he makes a victim of Nick Scott right here of the Rams. And just no juke, but a power, angry run from Josh Allen on this play.
I feel bad for Nick Scott because I thought he had a good game in some instances, and I like him. Also, real quick, in not perfect form, but shout out to Devin Singletary in battling against Bobby Wagner, who's still a good, effective blitzing linebacker. Singletary he turns into the nail a little bit and gets dropped back, but he fights, he battles, he anchors down, and provides a nice lane for Josh Allen. And then, as you highlighted, Mitch Morse there, popping a little bit to that right side to secure any type of threat and any type of leakage, which you have to do when Aaron Donald is going to be on that side. And like you said, perfect running lane, the Red Sea parts. The only person eyeballing Josh Allen is Nick Scott, and he's like 15 yards downfield. And it just makes sense. Josh is fast. He's big. Nick Scott is smaller than Josh Allen. And yeah, it's also bad too, because Josh face palms Scott's like whole, like he snuffs him, like his hand is right in the face, and
Get
he just
me.
yeah, he like older brother, little brothers him, like, man, get down, and like just snuffs him. It's just disrespectful. It's rude. And then when Allen, it's super demoralizing. And then Josh got up, smiling and laughing, and you got someone when they get up and they start chirping at you, because Scott gets up right away and starts chirping at Josh because he knows he got and he knows he got put down, and he wanted to try and reclaim some of his pride because his soul got taken on this, and it was rough.
Yeah, no, that was funny. I feel bad for guys when they're posterized by Josh Allen because he's got the physical talent, and it just, like, sometimes those kind of plays just come so easy to him, and it's almost not fair.
No,
when a defensive back is asked to try to tackle him one-on-one. And I'm sorry, like, if you gotta chop down that stiff arm, like, please at least try that.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta avoid getting posterized by Josh Allen, because as you said, he's gonna get up, he's gonna smile at you.
Yeah,
he's like, you want me to smile at you? Like, that's what he did when he got up to Nick Scott and then just walked away. That's just Josh, man. And I'm glad, kind of Poyer talked about it. Like, I'm glad that he's on the Bills and that he's doing that to other people and not doing it to our team.
Yeah, it's so pumped. It's so like motivating and exciting for the team that he's on, and it's just the worst for the opponent. So I'm glad he's on us.
Yeah. All right, so on to the next play out of that segment. Now let's take a look at this play right here. It's a McKenzie touchdown, 1st and goal. Bills are in a 2-by-2 set, and look at how I have it diagrammed. All right, so you got a 4-on-3, so you got 3 receivers to the top right here, and you got 4 defenders, kind of 4 over 3, and to the bottom you have 2 receivers and you have 3 over 2. So you would think that, hey, the defense is in pretty good shape, but look at the alignment by these 2 defenders right here. I mean, the middle of the field is just wide open. Look at Bobby Wagner's eyes. Look where he's looking. He's got to worry about the guys to his side with that covered. So the middle of the field's wide open, but patience. We talked about it with Gabriel Davis on his touchdown. McKenzie slow plays this release, patient to the top, and then explodes, and Josh throws it. And I want you to look at it from the end zone angle. Josh throws it, but the placement, and this was all night. This was all night. He threw it to the back hip because he knew Scott was going to be taking that angle.
He protects him.
Yeah, he protects him by throwing it to the back hip. Again, 0 one-step drop. Look at that. He just turns and rifles it to that back hip and low so that Scott cannot line McKenzie up right here and allows McKenzie to kind of back in there. He gets in for 6 points. I know he does a gender reveal right there for the camera for his sister. Just incredible stuff. Good recognition by Allen and McKenzie, but the patience by McKenzie. And coming back off that interception, giving him a chance right there, the offense did. And it was good to see for a guy that we obviously love here in the film room.
Oh, we love Isaiah McKenzie. He sat down and chatted with us. Eric, real quick, we have a super chat, and we have an awesome comment to go with it.
Yeah.
Weil, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the super chat. And he has a tremendous comment. He says, there's only a handful of people that can cover Stefon Diggs. They just happen to all work at cover one.
That's a good one. Hey, if you don't mind, I want to put that in text and use that for our promotions in the future. We appreciate the donation, man. And everyone joining us right now, 333 people in the film room. We're going a little longer than we wanted to, but hey, there's some good film. We want to get to it. And
gotta give the people what they want.
Hey, obviously we can cover Diggs better than Jalen Ramsey did that day, huh?
Yeah, your eyes looking in the backfield, looking at number 2, and number 1 runs right by you. It was a rough night for Jalen Ramsey. This play is beautiful. Again, I'm still kind of at a loss for words. Thank you very much for the super kind words and the super chat as well. Super great. I love that McKenzie basically. There's 2 things I love. And you highlighted both of them. McKenzie basically walks out of that route. Like, it's the opposite of like a quick release. Like, he's literally on his heels, like kind of like duck waddling a little bit. And then he bursts, like he sets it up really well. That is an example of some of the headiness and the technicality that he talked about when he came in the film room and sat down with us, and how he worked on not just being a gadget guy or a speed guy. He worked on the nuances of playing wide receiver, studying guys like Cole Beasley and Devontae Adams. So very smart, heady route. And then the Josh Allen throw, like you talked about, we hear all the time quarterbacks throwing someone open. This is kind of like the opposite of that in a good way. Like, he throws him like closed I guess, to protect him from getting hit, to protect him from taking that shot. Because Nick Scott is coming down hard. He's flying. He's playing top down. He knows the vulnerability in the middle of the field based on that split safety look. So if anybody flashes out of his left eye, out of that peripherals, he's screaming coming forward. And if Josh Allen puts this a little too far out in front of McKenzie, one, it increases the odds of it being an incompletion because it can get broken up. Two, it potentially sets his receiver up to just get his head absolutely taken off. So Josh Allen throws it, like you said, to that back hip and low, allows McKenzie to make that reception and also protect himself and just almost kind of coast into the end zone because it kind of wrong arms Nick Scott a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he walks in, 6 points, gender reveal, good times.
Yeah, just good stuff there. And, you know, that rapport with Josh Allen over the years, you know, to see that play out with the timing of that route, being on the same page. And again, reading that leverage. And we talked about the run and shoot, reading that leverage, but not, you know, pressing the route. It just, that timing was very,
it's timing because it's a timing offense.
Yeah. That's a timing offense. That was such a orthodox route, right?
Pure West Coast.
Yeah, purely. Okay, so this is the big play to Gabriel Davis. Davis is running the post from the bottom of the screen. But I just like this play because for a majority of the game, the Bills were seeing too high looks. And so they were being patient. They were running the ball. Josh Allen was checking it down. They were running those, you know, quick passes over the middle to Diggs, to Crowder, to McKenzie.
Yeah.
But then they saw a moment where they could hit deep. There's only one safety deep, Taylor Rapp, and that's why Gabriel Davis runs that post as Rapp goes in the middle to Crowder. You get inside leverage, your Gabriel Davis, and you have a nice throw. We'll see it from the end zone angle. But Anthony, I wanted to bring up something Gabriel Davis right before the show. I checked out the press conference of Gabriel Davis and him breaking down this play and what he saw. And I want to bring that up. We talked about very briefly before the show here. So what he saw here, and really this is just a version of it's called cover 8 here. If you hopefully you guys can see that clearly. He said he saw 88 flip. And if you look at this coverage here, it's the bottom right here, 88 flip. And all that means is to the far side of the field. So the top of the screen, they're playing a certain coverage, but to his side, they're playing a half field coverage. So corner and then half field safety. He said he saw 88 flip and that they expected that and saw that on film. And that allowed him to get to the middle of the field there on that big play. And of course, if you're running a post to a middle of the field open call, like that's all day. And Josh Allen was able to hit him on this 88 flip call. And I don't know if that was the exact call from the defense, but this is what Gabriel Davis saw. And it's obviously what Josh Allen saw.
Yeah, and
that's the most important thing.
I was gonna say, yeah, they were on the same page and it worked out. And you know, it kind of harkens back to it was a different coverage, but in that, you know, that 75-yard touchdown against the Chiefs in the divisional round, like Gabriel Davis just has this knack for being able to get deep against too high coverages, where the object of those coverages is to keep everything in front of you. He finds a way to consistently get deep. And I also loved on this one too, like when you play it in real time, he gets on the corner so fast. He eats up so much space with those strides. Like you can almost see 22, that corner at the bottom of the screen. As he kind of like shuffles, he almost kind of loses his balance around the 40 and kind of like flails a little bit. Yes, almost. Yeah, Mike Hughes went down, like he got sniped. And it's because of Davis's speed and his acceleration in that stem of the route. He gets on these corners so quickly. He's very attack-minded, and that's what you want to be as a receiver. I remember watching an interview a couple weeks ago on Davante Adams and him talking about how much he wants defensive backs to get on their heels. He wants to attack them. He wants to eat up that space and eat up that cushion and put them into a conflict where they have to decide, and then he makes a read and makes a move and takes off. Granted, Gabriel Davis is a different kind of receiver than Davante Adams, but the notion still remains the same, where Davis eats up that space in a hurry, then he cuts it inside. Look at also to the throw from Allen. That's not really a clean pocket. No. Like he doesn't just have all this time and space. Dawkins is getting popped. Donald is coming in right on him. The depth of the pocket is collapsing from 53. He's getting in there. Allen doesn't really have a great amount of space to step up and get into this throw. So he really just puts arm on it as the pocket is disintegrating around him. It is not a clean pocket. And
Crazy
so what
throw.
does he do? Ball downfield, and he leads Davis a little bit inside away from the corner so Gabriel Davis can go and get it. Go get the ball, make a play. It's a good throw that Allen makes again without being able to step into it because the pocket is collapsing around him. He's basically just, arm talent or arm arrogance, this throw here and just getting out there in front, and solid read from Davis and the speed and the urgency to attack the space with the corner, get downfield, and then a really good throw by Josh in a dirty pocket.
Yeah, and I want to highlight Singletary because, he's up and down when it comes to pass blocking. But the linebacker here, I think it's Ernest Jones, he loops inside. But look, he's kind of coming across the formation, and he's waiting. He's watching that linebacker as he's coming across the formation, and he changes his trajectory, kind of loops it back inside. But so Devin Singletary has to do that same thing, does as best he can to square him up and hit him and pick him up just long enough so that Josh can get rid of it. And the trust that Josh has here, not just with Singletary, but the offensive line, the trust here to keep his eyes downfield with this rush coming. Again, more than 4 on this play. And he's able to still get that ball down the field with the middle of the field open. Just incredible stuff from him and Gabriel Davis being on the same page. Again, he said it was 88 Phillips. I don't know if that's what it is, but either way, they saw the defense the same. They saw that open green the same. And Josh was able to lay it out there so that Gabriel Davis could get the explosive play.
Yeah, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. Like your QB and your wide receiver or QB and any of his weapons seeing the same thing at the same time, being able to have that connection. And this is a relationship that really started to solidify on that 4th down against Tampa last year. And Josh talked about how Gabe Davis had his trust, and we've seen him go to him in a variety of ways, but especially big moments because he trusts Gabriel Davis. And that happens because those two guys are on the same page.
Yeah, and so this is the touchdown to Diggs. So let's break this play down. Josh, afterwards, Diggs said that Josh told him, hey, just run. Now, if you remember a few plays ago when they completed the pass to the bottom of the screen on that switch release, that switch concept, this is the same exact play, all right? Same exact play, 3rd and 4 this time, not 3rd and 2. And so to the bottom of the screen, you're having that switch release, but you can see it's a different route. You're going to have a post or a 5-step slant from Davis, and then you're going to have McKenzie motioning and running a curl. To the top of the screen, Knox is running that seam route, but instead of running the stop route by Diggs, Josh told him, hey, just run. And why did he do that? Because supposedly Josh saw that Ramsey was eyeing the number 2 wide receiver. Specifically on this play, it's Dawson Knox, but he kind of gets flat-footed looking at Knox down the seam, and he shouldn't be. Why? Because they're actually running quarter half. So here's a quarter defender. Here's a quarter defender. That's what they're responsible for. All right. And then to the bottom of the screen, you got a half field player, and then you got a cloud player, a cover 2 squat type player down there. So quarter half. Some people call it, cover 6. Some people, I think cover 8 was another one that we talked about earlier. But right here, Ramsey gets caught peeking. Josh does a great job off the snap of, keeping his eyes downfield, looking at the other safety, looking him off. He sees a platform to get out of the pocket. And then, Diggs is even, he's leaving, and Josh is able to uncork this big throw down the field for the touchdown. Just tremendous stuff by Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs here. And again, back to that whole notion of this is not just an ordinary offense. It's not a West Coast offense. It's not a timing-based offense. Josh isn't hitting, guys with passes off of 5-step drops, timing, and the routes by these wide receivers aren't, technical in that sense. This is Josh just seeing something and just playing backyard football, and it just resonates so much with this offense. It's really the identity, as we talk about, of this offense.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And it goes back to something that we broke down earlier this offseason on the film room of how Josh creates explosive plays out of the pocket and by scrambling. And he's in that mold of the new age quarterbacks who look to get out of the pocket, not necessarily to run and scramble, but they look to get out and create explosives with their arm. And he makes a crazy throw on the run here. And I saw an interview with Jalen Ramsey, I think the day after this game, and he confirmed basically everything. He said he was sitting, he was waiting for number 2 to come out, and he got locked in to 2 too long, and he gave Diggs a whole bunch of credit. He said, like, once a great receiver like that gets on you and they get by you, it's over. And there's nothing you can do, basically, to kind of sum up what he said. Yeah, he gets caught peeking. So Josh called it before the play happened. You can see that. Like, Ramsey is eyeing Knox through Josh Allen. Like, that's why I think initially Richard Sherman came out during the game and said that they were maybe playing like a palms or a trap coverage because Ramsey was going to sit and wait for that out to come, and then the safety was going to take Diggs. But it ends up being quarters. Ramsey was, taking a risk and guessing on what Allen was going to do and what was going to come. Josh Allen beat him to it. Then that's the chess of football, right? You move one piece when someone else thinks you're going to move another one, and where you're going to move it to. And then I also love that Diggs kind of, lets him know as soon as he gets up. They were talking a little bit kind of playfully and good natured earlier in the game too, when Diggs had a drop that may have been deflected by Ramsey in the end zone, towards the back of the end zone there, but just wild throw. I also know some people were trying to like knock this throw and saying like Allen underthrew this ball. Which I can understand why people would say that. Dude threw this on the run. Like, how many?
What do you expect?
So that's from the 45. Yeah, so he threw this like 55, 60 yards.
Running 13 and change miles per hour.
Right? Like, rolling to his right, like, and just uncorking one downfield. Like, if you're I get how people want to be like, well, it's a little underthrown. But if your takeaway from this is that this ball was underthrown, shut up. Like, come on. What are we doing? Like, that's a good throw. And again, Josh using his athleticism, not necessarily to scramble, using it to set up an explosive with his arm, which is a consistent thing we've seen from this Bills. When Josh Allen gets out of the pocket, the threat of the run is there, which makes defenders come up. But Josh isn't necessarily looking to run. He's looking to create explosives with his arm downfield. And Josh does it. Mahomes does it. Herbert does it. It's in the repertoire of these big armed athletic quarterbacks. And I love what Nick says here. Nick with the best comment all night. Nick says, hey, go hit that like real quick. We haven't really mentioned it a lot during the show, but likes are one of the many forms of lifeblood that fuels us here on the show. And it sounds corny and it sounds dumb, but a like goes a very long way towards helping us to track and trend in front of more eyes and ears and really working with that algorithm, and allows us to provide great coverage in a variety of forms, such as Cover One Pass that gives you special access to Cover One, doesn't it, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, and the thing that everyone loves about becoming an insider, buying the One Pass, is the community that we have. Several hundred people in our Slack channel that talk football all day, break down film with us. I mean, we have a little bit of everything in there. So you get access to that community, that premium Slack channel. We're gonna have special content every day being written on the website. Cover1.football. Greg and I are going to be doing some classes. He's going to be doing some salary cap stuff. I'll be doing some teaching you how to watch film when we get some downtime during the year. We got the Cover One glossary for our insiders. If you go to the website, hit the drop down menu. When you're logged in, you'll be able to see some of the content that we've kind of talked about, different definitions and stuff that we use all the time in the film room. So become a One Pass insider. Help us, our grassroots type movement and website. We are able to have all the cool technology like the Telestrator, all the PFF memberships, the Sports Info Solutions. Some of the guests that we have on were because of your likes, your comments, your subscriptions, and sharing it by word of mouth. All of that helps. And when you do sign up, the first shipment, I believe, went out already. You'll get a free t-shirt, you get a decal, and each year we're going to change that up. So become an insider, become a part of our community, because without you guys supporting us, we wouldn't be able to do this. We don't have big advertisers. We don't have a lot of sponsorships when it comes to this stuff. We do this because we love it, and because people like you are guys that support us and allow us to do these things. And tonight was fun. Unfortunately, Jordan Phillips wasn't able to join us, but we made the best of it. And as we said at the top, he vowed to get back in here with us, just like Isaiah McKenzie did. And I believe he will. And let's hope that the week one game and his production weren't just a flash in the pan. I don't think it was, because if he has more games like that, we're going to have him several times in the film room this year.
For sure. And if he doesn't come back, then we're just going to pick out the film of him not playing well, and then we're just going to do film room episodes on that. And he's not going to be a fan of that. But yeah, again, shout out to him for at least communicating it to us. We get it. Family comes first. We wish him luck in the future, and we hope to see him here, because he did vow to come back. And Speaking of vows, we here at Cover One, especially in the film, we always vow to do our best. And this show was absolutely phenomenal. And a lot of that credit, Erik, you alluded to it, goes to that live chat. Everybody joining us live here, like seeing everybody here, I think it helps us raise our game a little bit, gets us excited because we see the engagement, we see the participation. And again, whether you gave us a super chat tonight, whether you just commented, whether you were here and you weren't commenting and you were just watching live, whatever have you, we appreciate all the forms of support that you guys give us. Super chats, the, Cover One pass, words of mouth of you just telling somebody, like, yo, Cover One is dope. You should check out this show or this channel, whatever it, comes of it. We say it all the time. We would not be anything without the support that we have from you guys and girls and the variety of forms that it comes in. So thank you very much for joining us for this live episode. Erik, it was a pretty good one. I mean, granted, we're biased because we did it, but it was a good one.
There's two more things I want to address before we take off here. One thing is, we're going to be doing, we partnered with Playback, which is basically, if you guys like Manningcast, we're going to start doing some of that at Cover One. We partnered with Playback, and from time to time, and I think we're going to start this Monday night. Greg and I will be doing a live Manningcast type format and platform where you guys can join in and watch the game with us on our stream, and we'll be your commentators. It's pretty cool, man. We've messed with it over the weekend. You have us on the screen and we're talking, but you could also just lower us down and turn up the broadcast commentators, or you can turn them down and turn us up, and we have a chat room. It's a pretty cool program. It's going to blow up. It's going to absolutely blow up. And we wanted to be a part of that because it's something that we've always wanted to do, but we also didn't want to get sued by the NFL. So
it's a tough act. It's a balancing act.
It's a balancing act, quite the balancing act. And I think you guys will enjoy this. So please, that is one thing that we're going to try to do Monday night. So if you guys are interested in that, get to our Twitter handle at Cover One. I posted a link there earlier today to log in there, sign up so that when we are live, you'll be notified and you can jump in the chat room with us, and we'll be your play-by-play guys on Monday night for that Titans game. And the other thing, Anthony, you, Russ, and Mr. Kendall started another show that airs on Sundays. So why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, myself, Russell Brown, and Kendall Mursky, we went live with the debut episode of Cover One Football Weekly this past Sunday. So you folks know at this point, when it comes to anything and everything Buffalo Bills, Cover One has you, anything and everything that you need. But myself, Kendall, and Russ, we're now starting to venture out into the uncharted waters for Cover One and really branch out into more NFL coverage. So live every Sunday at 7:15 p.m. Eastern, you'll get myself, Kendall, and Russell Brown diving into the biggest takeaways, scheme, structure, moments, players, performances, drives, anything and everything from that weekend in the NFL. This past week, we took a look at what the Steelers did against the Bengals, and the Bengals offensive line performance, Minka Fitzpatrick, the reloaded Chiefs offense, Justin Herbert, Devontae Adams, a variety of games, a variety of schemes, what to take away from that Niners game, and Trey Lance, given the weather. Again, we've taken what we do for the Buffalo Bills and we're applying it league-wide in a variety of forms and fashions. And, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, which we know a lot of you in the chat here are now, every single one of the teams in the NFL is an enemy of yours. So tune into Cover One Football Weekly and find out about your enemies and just learn more about the game holistically across the league, trends and takeaways and everything, so you can stay up on the NFL and football and the game that you love. We're really excited about the progress so far and looking forward for what's to come.
It was great. It was a good turnout and good first show. And you guys going to have great rapport this year. I'm excited about that, to kind of branch out as we're trying to do across the brand. So good stuff, and definitely tune into that on Sundays.
Erik, like we mentioned a couple times, started out a little sad because Jordan Phillips had to go away, but man, what a
then my remote disconnected. I was struggling with that. Like you guys have no idea. You have no idea.
You have no idea, one, how important that remote is to Erik. Two, how many times in our history that remote has let Erik down. And tonight, but what did you do? Like Kirk Gibson for the Dodgers or Willis Reed for the Knicks? You pulled through like a champion. Didn't show any signs of struggle or fear. You grinded it out. You gritted it out.
Yeah.
So you know what? That's a clap. That's a clap for you. You had an amazing performance. You're welcome.
you.
This is like Michael Jordan in Game 6 with the flu. You just came through and you pulled up and you made a great play. And this episode, I think we really rebounded and had a great episode. And how could we not, after a tremendous performance from the Buffalo Bills to start week 1? So we were very excited to do this episode. We were glad to see the excitement in the live chat as well. If you are still here with us live, please, like we mentioned earlier, drop a like on this video if you are here on YouTube. If you are watching later on YouTube, please drop a like as well. Tell your family and friends how awesome the show is. If you thought the show was terrible, tell your enemies and try and ruin their day, because a view is a view, a like's a like. Whether you are watching the show on YouTube, listening on any one of the podcasting apps or platforms, we thank you for your view, your listen, your download. If you're on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, please rate and review and subscribe to the Cover One Film Room. Same thing on YouTube. Subscribe to the Film Room and the Cover One channel as a whole. We got you covered every single day of the week with the best of anything and everything when it comes to the Buffalo Bills. And now with Cover One Football Weekly, we're branching out into the world of the NFL. So,
Watch out.
Starting to build that empire little by little, and surely we will be there. For myself, Anthony Prohaska, and for Mr. Eric Turner, the godfather and founder of Cover One, this has been another episode of the Cover One Film Room. We will see you next week. And as always, go Bills.